Okay, so welcome everybody to the seventh class in this Bhagavad Gita study series. Um, so, as usual, our acknowledgement to um, Swami Paramatmananda and for the traditional rendering of Vedanta, as was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankara. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva-Samarambam Shankaracharya-Madhyamam Asmadacharya-Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankara in the middle, and continuing up to our immediate teacher, who's Swami Paramatmananda. So with this, we will dive into the Karma Yoga portion. So we stopped at 2.45. So one quick quiz question. I've asked this before. How many types of yogas are listed in the Vedas? Could somebody answer this? Anjana, I think you can answer.
Two types
Two.
of yogas,
Yeah.
Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga.
Yes, wonderful. So this is a point that Shankaracharya as well as Krishna tries to drill into Arjuna and Shankaracharya into us. And there is no choice. Everybody has to go through these stages. The Karma Yoga is for purification of the mind. And then the Jnana Yoga is for attaining knowledge, which liberates. This is very clearly outlined in the Vedas, and we will see that. So last time we stopped at 2.45. Um, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nitvandvo Nitya Sattvastaha Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. So Yoga Kshema is yoga's acquiring, Shema is preserving. So this is like the slogan for life insurance companies. So you would say there's a company called LIC in India, Life Insurance Corporation. This is their slogan. So basically, preserving what you acquire. That's what insurance does. So he's here, but Krishna says, don't be anxious about acquiring and preserving. Nir yoga kshema atmavan. Here, atmavan means master of oneself. So the word atma, so as I mentioned in some of my notes and messages on our group, chat group, Atma Sanskrit is a live language, which means the same word can mean different things in different places. So Atma could mean the Purusha, right? Very commonly used. Atma can also mean the mind body. Atma, self, can just mean self. What is self? It's a mind body sense complex, right? Illuminated by this, by the light from the Purusha. This is Atma. It can also be the mind. You'll see all these will be used. So, Atmanyeva Atmana Tushtaha, in the definition, Sita Pragnyas Tadochati. So, one who is satisfied in the self, by the self. So, in the self, that is the self with a capital S, in the Atma, by using the mind body complex. That person will see it's a definition of a person of perfect wisdom. Okay. Um, so, and this also talks about the qualities of a karma yogi. That the karma yogi is free from three gunas, pairs of opposites, and ever established in sattva, free from anxieties of acquiring and preserving. So, this is where we left out. Then, this is a very nice sloka. So, what it says is that Yavan Arthavudapane Sarvata Samplutodake Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu Brahmanasya Vijanataha. Just as the water in a well is just as important when there's a flood water everywhere, Like that, the karma kanda of the Vedas, which prescribe all these rituals, are as important to a person who's wise. A Brahmana here means somebody who's wise, not somebody born in a certain family. It just means somebody who's wise. So, um, Krishna here, so he's motivating Arjuna for taking up karma yoga. So the rituals, they're just karmas. You do these rituals, you get some benefits. It's mentioned in the Vedas. So the Vedas have two portions: Veda Purva, Veda Anta. Veda Purva is all about karma, and it's done exactly for this reason. The first portion of Vedas, it's all the rituals. The reason, only by action we can purify the mind. That's the idea. Veda Anta is also called Upanishads. They're one and the same. There's no, I've studied Vedanta and I also studied Upanishads now. It's the same thing. So uh, the and why is the knowledge coming at the end? Because without a pure mind, you cannot, your mind is not ready to get acquire the knowledge. So that's why Vedanta comes at the end. Um, so here Krishna, he talks about attaining the infinite pleasure through karma yoga as opposed to these small worldly enjoyments. um, I wish I could tell a story here. So yeah, I think today's class will be stories with a few shlokas interspersed, seems like. But anyway, I'll tell the story. There's this popular story. I think it comes perhaps in the Mahabharata or somewhere else too. There was a Mimamsa scholar. So Mimamsa is one of the six darshanas, one of the philosophies, and she's a great scholar. And he wants to cross a river. So the raftsman, the boatman, he takes him across the river. Then he's also very full of himself. He's so arrogant. Then he asks the boatman, "Do you know what Mimamsa is?" Boatman says, "I only know mean and I only know mamsa." Mean means fish. Mamsa means flesh. I only know meat and fish. That's all I eat. I don't know Mimamsa. Then the scholar looks at him in a condescending way and he says, "Half your life is wasted. You've not studied anything." And then he keeps talking. He tells about the glories, all that. And the poor boatman has to listen to this, though he doesn't understand anything. Then at some point, a leak develops in the boat. And then the boatman asks the scholar, "So, oh, wise scholar, do you know how to swim?" So the scholar says, "No, I don't know how to swim." Then the boatman tells, "Your entire life is wasted now." So this shows that a lot of these superfluous things are not very useful. It's only the essence that matters. Okay, now we will quickly revisit this karma yoga and jnana yoga again because it's so important. So we talked about two sadhanas, which is two practices for attaining moksha, liberation: karma yoga, jnana yoga. So I've drawn them as stairs. You can also look at it as elementary school and high school, or middle school and high school. If you ask which one is more important, both are important. You have to go through elementary school to eventually reach high school. So only from high school you graduate, right? So like that, both paths are needed. Everybody has to go through both. For some people, they're very advanced from previous birth sadhanas. They quickly do a little bit and then they go here. So karma is just action. Karma yoga is actions done for self-purification. Now, what all constitute karma yoga? So Shankara includes everything: devotion, prayer, Ashtanga yoga, all meditations. It's important for internal growth, not external accomplishment. So even asana practice, all that, it's not about the fancy pose. I've said this many times before. Not that is circus gymnastics. The final, the how good, elegant your pose is doesn't matter. Here, what matters is how steady your mind is. That's what Patabi Joyce said. How do you know asana is correct? When the mind is still. Okay, so let's hear from Swamiji on in his own voice. I've been saying Swamiji is a teacher, so I'd like you to listen to his voice now.
There is no choice with regard to spiritual sadhana, karma yoga and jnana yoga. You should remember that all spiritual sadhanas are broadly classified into two. One is jnana yoga, which is the pursuit of jnanam, and the second is karma yoga, which is meant for preparing the mind for knowledge. And all the sadhanas that we do to prepare the mind will come under karma yoga only. Even Patanjali's Ashtanga yoga will come under karma yoga only. So all forms of sadhanas, including Ashtanga yoga and varieties of meditations, they also come under karma yoga only.
Okay, so this point is Krishna struggles and struggles with Arjuna to convey this point. So Arjuna, what does he want to do? He just wants to escape into sannyasa, and he wants to just follow knowledge and try to get liberation. And Krishna keeps telling him, your mind is not fit for that. You have to go through both paths. Okay, so and Shankaracharya also struggles and struggles. So if you see, click on this, you will. Swamiji talks about how Shankaracharya struggles to convey this point to people. And what constitutes Jnana Yoga? It is defined as the systematic and consistent study of scriptures under the guidance of a competent acharya. So we have Swami Paramatmananda, who is giving us the bhashyam of Shankaracharya. And okay, both Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga are required for moksha. You can click on this recordings to see a little more about Shankara's troubles and Krishna's struggles to convey this information to Arjuna. Okay, so now we will resume again. So I just wanted to highlight that. Now, okay. So this Anjana, you are asking about this shloka. So now it is here. Karmanyevadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma palaheturbuhu ma te sangostva karmani. So your choice is in the action only and not its results, because you have only limited control. Now, I'm not saying no control, you have only limited control over the results. And Krishna says, let not be the fruits of actions, the benefits be the motive for doing that action. Also, do not get attached to inaction. So just because you're not attached to the fruits of action doesn't mean you shouldn't do that. And Krishna elaborately discusses this in the 3rd chapter on Karma Yoga. He says it's your duty to do, because wise, great people in the society, what they do, they set as the standard. And Krishna says, if I stop doing anything, the entire world will fall apart. Even he has to act. Even God has to act. This is what, even though he has nothing to gain by actions, he still has to act. So, any questions on the shloka? Are we good? Okay. All right. So I told that we don't have full control. We only have limited control. So in the 18th chapter, it comes all the action, what all constitute an action, and how is the result determined. So it says, adishtanam tata karta karanam cha pratak vidam vividascha pratak cheshtaha daivam chaivatra panchamam. So for any action, we need the body. That is the basis, adishtanam. Then the karta. Karta is the ahankara. So we'll talk more about this. It's explained in detail in later in the 13th and 14th chapters. Ahankara is the mind, body, sense complex illuminated by the light from the Purusha. Then we need the various senses, karanam, pratakvidam. Then the many types of efforts. So this is Swamiji interprets this as the pranas. Vividascha pratak cheshtaha. Vivida, many are the distinct are these efforts. And finally, Daivam chaivatra panchamam. The fifth is divine providence. You can call it God, luck, whatever it is. So there is that component also. You have definitely, you can steer, but there is also this component. Okay. And that is why throughout the yoga practice, what is done is the detachment is illustrated. So if you want to know more about this shloka, you can listen to Swamiji's voice here. So this is actually a very beautiful shloka, even though it comes in the 18th chapter. I am quoting it early because it's relevant to here. Okay. So in the 6th chapter again, Krishna talks about this dispassion. Patanjali also, we'll see, Patanjali also quotes what is yoga practice, what constitutes abhyasa vairagyabhyam tannirodha. How do you get the state of nirodha, right? Yoga, Patanjali defines as chitta vritti nirodha. How do you get to the state of nirodha? Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tannirodha. You get it by practice, not just practice, but by dispassion. So this is a very important point. So in the 6th chapter, Arjuna says, you're talking about meditation. My mind just can't even sit quiet. I can't sit quiet for even single shanamapi, just a second also. My mind is always wandering. Krishna says, asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha gruhyate. Without doubt, O mighty one with mighty arms, the mind is difficult to control and restless. Okay, durnigraha achalam, just restless. Durnigraham means control, like a horse reins. Durnigraham is very difficult to control and restless. But abhyasa is practice, and vairagya, dispassion, one can restrain. So dispassion is very important. And that's why you don't have full control over the actions. So this is the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Abhyasa vairagyabhyam tannirodha. Let's listen to Jayashree's voice.
अभ्यासवैराग्याभ्यां तन्निरोधः
Okay, so this we are talking about karma yoga. By actions, you're trying to settle the mind. We also saw last time when the yogi acts, the yogi comes from a very pure state. There's no residue of actions. Patanjali also says, Tatra dhyanajam anashayam. It doesn't leave residues. Any action coming from a meditative state is very high quality. because it leaves there's no ego. Only if ego is there, residues are there. Because residue means punya or papa. So that acquires. For yogi, karma ashukla akrishnam, neither white nor black. For the rest of us, trividam iteresham, Krishna, Shukla, Mishra, black, white, mixed. That's our baggage. So the three types of karmas. So I just wanted to tell, since we're talking about karma, they are prarabdha karma, which is the previous lifetime's karma whose fructification has already started. Which is why even after enlightenment, some people, they have to go through this life, finish their prarabdha karma, and then there is mukti. So this is called Jivan Mukti. So they get liberated, but they have to go through the full sequence and then get Videha Mukti. After the body, they eventually leave. This is exhausted only after experiencing. But what Swamiji says is the prarabdha karma, even if it's bad, it's like a cobra. It can be defanged. Its sting won't be so bad if you follow these spiritual practices. So if your mind is made pure, the sting of the prarabdha karma will be reduced. But you have to experience that. There's no escape from that. Sanchita karma, that's the second type. All the accumulated karma, which has not yet fructified. Tatastat vipakanu gunanam eva avivyaktir vasananam. So it remains as latent impressions, samskara, vasana. So when there's a time for it to, vasana literally means smell. When the time, so you have this perfume in a nicely sealed container. So when you open it, smell comes, right? So like that, when the time is right, this thing, it exudes itself, and the entire thing happens. It unfolds. It can be dissolved by attaining self-realization. Prarabdha karma, no escape. Sanchita karma, it can be, there is some hope. Then agami karma. So this is due to karmashaya. Heyam dukkam anagatam. That's what Patanjali says. So if you see Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, Krishnamacharya, hopefully everybody knows, he is the father of modern day yoga. So his son Desikachar, he started the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram. This is their slogan. Heyam dukkam anagatam. Whatever dukkha, sorrow is going to come in the future, you can avoid it. Anagatam, you can avoid that. Due to karmashaya, the leftover desires, we will perform actions in this and future lifetimes, which will add more karma to the stockpile. The future karma can be altered by discernment. Okay. Okay. Now, Krishna is going to use the word yoga. So, in I have to say this verse. So Krishna previously, look, a teacher should be definitive, should have the talk with confidence. If you say, well, perhaps, maybe this can take you, maybe that can take you, it's not going to, a student is already confused. It's not going to help. So look at the word, Swami Paramatmananda, he highlights this word. Esha te bihita sankhe. So abhihita means I declare. So I have declared the Sankhya Yoga, knowledge of the Atma. Now listen to Yogam. So Esha te bihita Sankhya. It's not Sankhya, then Buddhir Yoge Tvamam Shrunu. It's not Buddhi Yoga. The way you have to read it, Sankhya Buddhi. So because of the meter, Buddhi, it comes as Buddhi Yoga. No, Esha te abhita Sankhya Buddhi. Yogam Tvam Imam Shrunu. Now listen to yoga. So reason I told this is whenever Krishna says yoga, he's referring to karma yoga. So yogi, when he says, he's referring to a karma yogi. He will use the term yogi in the 6th chapter. It is a quintessential primer on yoga and yogi. Okay, so he says when you do karma yoga, you can get rid of the bondage of karma and make the mind pure. Um, okay, so where are we? So we finished. Yeah, we finished here. So then the first, now we will see the different definitions of yoga. So the karma yoga portion itself, you can break it up into this way. First, Krishna always glorifies everything, right? He glorifies karma yoga, all the greatness. We saw even a little swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat, and vyavasayatmika buddhi, one buddhi of a one-pointed mind. It's like laser focused. He says, who cannot become karma yogis? Yami mam pushpitam vacham pravadanta vipaschitaha vedavadartha partha nanyatastiti vadinaha. So difference between a karmi and a karma yogi. Karmi just rituals, just for getting benefits. Karma yogi acts without desire for results. Then right attitude for karma yoga, we saw that. Then now definitions of yoga. So there are three definitions of yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. We'll see two, right? In three shlokas, we'll see two definitions of yoga. So first definition of yoga. Yogastak kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. First definition of yoga: remaining steadfast in yoga, perform actions, abandoning attachment. O Dhananjaya, remaining the same in success and failure, do the actions. Evenness of mind is called yoga. So, samatvam yoga uchyate. So, not being carried away by success and failure, just being even minded. This is called yoga. Okay, so this is the first definition. It's a very beautiful word, mind, a tranquil mind. Um, Even in the Ramayana, it the akartamam itam tirtam. So Bharatwaja Vishamayo, um, Ramaniyam Prasannam Bhaiva Sanmanusya Manoyatha. So this beautiful still water of Akardama, this lake or river. The river usually flows. So the water was very still apparently. And still water is like the mind of a noble person, very steady. So usually we say the mind of a noble person is like still water, because still water is so common that people will use that example. But look at it, he uses the other way. The still water is like the mind of a noble person. So maybe there more noble people were there during those times. So we don't know. Anyway, so this comes in Ramayana. Valmiki tells his disciple Bharadwaja. Then Krishna says, Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya uddhav sharanam anviccha kripana palahetavaha. Action that is based on the desire for fruits is therefore far inferior to action performed with the right attitude of Buddhi Yoga. Here, Buddhi Yoga means Karma Yoga. Take refuge in Buddhi Yoga, yoga of proper understanding. Those who perform action motivated only by the results are kripana. He uses the word misers. It's a miserly lot. Krishna uses strong words. Next he'll use stena eva saha. He will say, those who ye pachantyatma karanat. So those who cook for themselves, with taking all the gifts from what nature provides, and then only cook for themselves, they are sinners. They tam papaha. He calls them sinners, and he also calls them stena eva saha, thief. So he uses the word misers here. So he will use very strong language to criticize people who are only motivated by the results and who are selfish. Okay. Then comes the second definition. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukruta dushkrute tasmad yogaya yutyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. So the word kaushalam comes from the kusha grass. The kusha grass, it's a very sharp grass. You walk amongst it, you'll get scratched. So kaushalam it's essentially can be translated as skill. Kushala is basically skill, that is doing things at like the razor's edge, not too much, not just the right amount. So that is it's called kaushalam. So yoga, karmasu kaushalam, it is skill in action. And what is it? For the one who's endowed with samatva buddhi, buddhi yukto jahati here, which means buddhi yukta means the samatva buddhi which we saw 2 shlokas ago. Jahati means casting off. Casting off what? Both punya and papa. So this person, when the buddhi is samatvam, the actions don't have punya or papa associated with this. They do not taint. Therefore, commit yourself. Tasmad yogaya yujasva. Commit yourself to yoga. Yoga is skill in action. Skill here. Swamiji uses the word discretion. Dayananda actually uses the word discretion, so that one does not acquire punya or papa. So yoga is skill in action. Okay, so this is another definition. So the skill prevents you from acquiring punya or papa, skill of discretion. Okay, any questions here? And we saw this sutra, right? Let's hear it in Jayashree's voice.
कर्मा शुक्ला कृष्णं योगिनस्त्रिविधमितरेषाम्.
The karma of the yogi is neither white nor black. For all the rest, it is of 3 kinds: white, black, and gray. So the third definition is actually given in the 6th chapter. He defines it as tam vidya yoga dukkha dukkha viyogam yoga muchyate. So it is a severance of union with pain. That is the definition of yoga. Okay, next. Okay, so I'll probably tell. Let's see the time also. Yeah, we have time. So so karma is a great topic for stories because karma leads to janma. So your next birth is determined by the karmas in the previous births. So it's a vicious cycle. So new characters come. Mahabharata is full of karma janma stories, full and full. The entire thing. Bhishma was born because he slighted somebody in the previous birth. So they said, you will live for a long time and suffer. So all those things happen. And even the hunter who finally kills Krishna by accidentally mistaking his feet for deer, he was Vali in the previous avatara, Rama avatar. So, and Rama came much before. So it is a different yuga. So this is Dwapara Yuga, Treta. So here, this is a story of Bharata. Bharata, so the word India is called Bharat. That it comes from this person, the king. There was a very famous king called Bharata, and it's the descendants or the people of India. It's not. This king, he ruled very well. Towards end of his life, a lot of people, they go to the outskirts of a forest so that they can live peacefully, and they can contemplate, meditate, so that their next life, it takes them closer to the goal of meditation, of nirvana, moksha. So this king, very great king, he um, goes to the edge of the forest, lives there, and every day he's meditating for 20 hours for inner contemplation. One day, as he was meditating, there was a tiger chasing a pregnant deer. And the deer jumps across the stream. And the effort in jumping, the tiger is behind it, that causes it to give birth. And we don't know what happened to the deer and the tiger, but the deer, the fawn, it falls into the water. Bharata immediately rushes, jumps into the water, saves the fawn. And he gets very attached to the fawn. And then every day he was meditating for 20 hours. Then he's taking care of the fawn. From 20, it becomes 18, then 12, and finally 2 hours. He gets so attached, he gets worried if the fawn doesn't come. All this I'm saying to illustrate why even a good karma sometimes, when it has this clinging attachment, it adds to the bag pile. So the punya adds to the bag. He did a great thing. He brought up the deer, but because of this clinging, the punya, it adds to his baggage. And when he was dying, all that he could think of was his deer. So the next birth, he takes birth as a deer. It is called Jati Smaranam. That is, this deer was born with knowledge of its previous Jati's birth. Smaranam is reminding. So it's our memory of previous birth. So it knew it was this rishi, the Bharata, the king who became a rishi. And then it would always go near hermitages and monasteries, places where all these rishis were giving discourses, and it will listen. And of course, the deer on one day died, and the next lifetime it becomes born as Bharata again. This Bharata was born in a good family, but he never talked. He would always be very quiet because he's an enlightened person. He knew his past lives. And because he was always quiet, and he was also chubby, because he was eating and sitting, doing nothing. And everybody nicknamed him Jata Bharata. Jata means inert object. Jata Bharata. Then one day, what happened was, they were sitting by a tree. A bunch of people wanted to perform a human sacrifice to Kali. These are like dacoits. They look at him, plump guy. What could be better than this? He was very inert. He looked very dumb. So they just grab hold of him. He didn't resist at all. So even all the more better. So they take him. And in the altar, just before they were going to swing the sword, the statue of Kali is there. Kali jumps out of that and catches the guy who's going to swing the sword, and she chops off the heads of all those people. And she says, how dare you guys try to harm such a noble person? And the rest of the dacoits, they just flee. So he was saved by Kali. And then he comes back, and what does he do? Just sit by the road. One day the king was being carried in his palanquin by 4 people. One of them falls sick. So they're looking for another person to carry the palanquin. And they found this guy, nice big guy. So they said, okay, come, carry this. And he did, but he was not, he was always moving, all that. So the king was getting jostled. And then the king says, "You foolish person, can't you carry this properly?" And he just starts yelling at him. And then at some point, Jatabarta looks at the king. The first time he speaks, he says, "Who are you calling a fool? This Atma, I am the Atma that lives inside. It is always pure. It's always existed. It feels no pain." So the king was saying, if you're tired or something, just sit and rest. Don't be shaking. I'm willing to go slow. So you're saying the Atma never feels tiredness. I am the Atma. This is just the body. It'll go away one day. Atma then will be elsewhere. It'll take up another body. So then the king realizes, oh my God, we are talking to an enlightened person. And yeah, the king becomes his disciple, even though Bharata didn't speak much. But at the end of this birth, he gets liberation. So this is to show the punya papa. So papa is definitely bad. Even punya karma can add to the baggage this way. Okay? Okay, so the last portion of the Karma Yoga portion in the chapter 2, it is what happens when the mind is ready to receive knowledge through yoga. So we saw this Karma Yoga to purify the mind. Both steps are necessary. Jnana Yoga is what leads to liberation. So the person is now at the end of this Karma Yoga. So getting ready for receiving knowledge. So Krishna says, Karmajam buddhi yukta hi palam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchantanamayam. So this shloka talks about the entire sequence from karma to karma yoga to jnana to moksha. Here the word manishinaha means manisha means people. Manishinaha here means wise people. So you have to interpret it. Like I said, Sanskrit is a live language. So manisha is not just people, which includes dumb people also. Here it means manishinaha karmajam buddhi yuktahi. This knowledge, it, it comes from karma. So first karma, and when the karma becomes an attitude of karma yoga, and then it becomes, you're ready for getting buddhi. So it's this shloka goes for the entire sequence. Karma, the wise who are endowed with the right attitude of karma yoga, which is born out of karma, who are freed from the bondage of birth, attain that abode which is called moksha, which is free from all afflictions. So that's what it says. So this is the step. Karma, ordinary karma, then karma with a certain attitude called karma yoga, then jnana yoga, and then moksha. So the whole sequence is mentioned in this shloka. So janma bandha vinir muktaha, they're free from the bondage of birth. Padam gachanti anamayam. Padam is that state, a place, abode they go to, which is anamayam, free from all evil or afflictions. Okay, let's see how we are doing on the time. There's again karma, so there's another, it's a long story, so we'll come to that in second. Now, okay, so the 52nd shloka. Any questions from anybody? I've just been talking. No questions? Okay. So let's go to the 52nd. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tatha gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. When your intellect crosses the impurity of delusion, then you gain dispassion towards what has been heard and what is yet to be heard. Okay, this is a very important shloka. In fact, even in Buddhism, there's a Buddha talks about the example of a raft, the parable of the raft. We'll come to that in a second. It tells that the importance of jnana and how the karma kanda of the Vedas no longer matter when one gains that knowledge. All the rituals, it's not very useful anymore. This again shows that this doing karma and karma yoga, it cannot liberate this. So eventually you have to get to that knowledge to get liberated. So here, tata gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha, which means you gain nirvedam here means dispassion. Tata gantasi, you shall gain dispassion to what? Shrotavyasya shrutasya cha, which means what has been heard and what will is yet to be heard. So it doesn't matter. There's a long to-do list of once you become an expert, it doesn't matter. You get a PhD. You don't need to go sit in elementary school to learn stuff, right? So when the knowledge is reached, all these actions become meaningless. So in Buddhism, it's called the parable of the raft. Once you cross to the other side, the raft is useless. In fact, it can be a burden. You don't want to be, once you cross to the other side, you don't want to be carrying the raft on your back. It'll break your back, right? So that is it's called the parable of the raft. There's a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh, if you're interested. Okay. Then continuation of the shloka. Shruti vipratipanna te yadasyasya nischala samadhavachala buddhihi tada yogam avapsyasi. When your mind is no longer distracted, because all these, Krishna, after a certain point, it's just a distraction to gaining knowledge, these rituals. When the mind is no longer distracted by the various means and ends given in the Vedas, it will remain steady in samadhi and unshaken. Then you will gain self-knowledge. Samadhi here is mind focused on the self. Yogam here refers to jnana yoga. So you have to be very careful. That's why the yoga, you have to interpret according to the context. Rest, it means karma yoga, but here, yogam avapsasi. So you will gain self-knowledge. Yogam avapsasi. You will attain, you will get self-knowledge. Shruti vipratipanna means it's getting you're distracted by Shruti. What is Shruti? Shruti is revealed or heard. Shrutam is hearing. It's heard stuff, which is the Vedas. So when you're not distracted by the Vedas, distracted by the Vedas means given by the various rituals in the Vedas, samadha achala buddhi, unshakable, steady, unshaken buddhi, you will gain that kind of mental disposition, and now the mind is ready to get self-knowledge. Tata yogam avapsisi. You will start getting self-knowledge. Then people, they'll enter this part. This is what gets Arjuna's attention. Atma stuff he doesn't understand, but then this karma yoga, now he is able to identify, okay, so if I do this, it seems tangible, I can do that. So he immediately, his ears perk up. Okay, so I have a story to tell, so I will just summarize. So question, yes, Sumitra?
2.47. I understand that you should not base your action on the result or fruit of the action. I understand that. But what I don't understand, do not also get attached to inaction.
Yes. So
don't get attached to laziness. Is that what,
yes,
what it means?
That's what it means. He says, don't get attached to laziness. Okay,
Okay.
okay. This is you have to look at it from the context. Arjuna wants to flee the war.
Mm.
What does he want to do? He says that in the first chapter, he wants to go become a sannyasi. So throughout next chapter, full 3, 4, 5, sannyasi, sannyasi, sannyasi is going to grihastha sannyasi. He wants the life of a sannyasi. Sannyasi's life is very knowledge oriented. They're contemplating. He doesn't want to do anything. He wants to just sit and not do anything. And Krishna keeps drilling into him. You have to act. Your mind won't sit still. Even jatu shanamapi tatu tishtati akarma krita. Your mind is not there yet. You have to do karma. And the best way to do is by your own duty, your swadharma. Yoga karma su kaushalam. So that is the context. Don't get attached to inaction. You are not at that stage. That's what Krishna. So this is in the big picture, this is what's happening. He wants to just find any excuse possible to go sit in the forest and just contemplate on this knowledge. He wants to become a sannyasi. He wants to run away. And Krishna is preventing him from doing that. You
Okay.
will see that so much in the third chapter. Again, this is what, if you actually go click on those, Swamiji will tell how Krishna struggles and struggles to tell him that, you know, you cannot go and just sit and do nothing. So the entire thing here, what if you go click on these links here, Krishna, so maybe I'll just play this.
Remember, from Karma Yoga standpoint, Jnana Yoga is the end. Karma Yoga has to culminate in Jnana Yoga. And from Moksha angle, Jnana Yoga is the means. So this alone, Krishna struggled and struggled and struggled and struggled. And he thinks that he has communicated, but Arjuna continues to have problems, but he seems to be clear to some extent. Yada te moha kalilam buddhirvyatitarishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutasya cha.
So this is in the 5th chapter. We're not there yet. 2nd chapter is still confused. I've gotten this please from Swamiji's discourse on the 5th chapter. So his mind is in a pretty messed up state. And actually, you guys probably know, now that I've told this many times from Swamiji's discourses, you guys probably know this much better than Arjuna at this stage. So you're smarter than Arjuna. The greatest hero of his times, the greatest warrior. Okay, so where were we? Okay, so then I was going to summarize. Let's see. Okay, the raft and then the summary. Okay, let's just recap what all has happened so far in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna first surrenders, right? Shishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam. He's filled with karpanya doshopahata swabhavaha pritchami tvam dharma sammuda chetah yachreyasyan nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam. So only after he requests and surrenders, Krishna starts teaching. And Krishna presents the ultimate knowledge, Atma Vidya. So the entire Bhagavad Gita, if you ask what is this text about, it is Atma Vidya. So Swamiji very clearly says chapters 2, 3, 4, and 5 is the Bhagavad Gita. That all the rest they add to that. But Atma is eventually Brahman. So Bhagavad Gita is a text on Atma Vidya. Then Krishna knows that Arjuna's mind is not ready for assimilating this knowledge. So Krishna talks about karma yoga, which when done, the mind becomes steady and fully ready to assimilate. And at this point, he becomes curious and wants to know about this person who has attained the steady mind. And Arjuna himself gives a name. This after doing, we saw right after doing karma yoga, the step your mind becomes steady, ready for knowledge. So this person who's in this stage, Arjuna gives the name Sthita Prajna. Sthita means steady, Prajna, wisdom, one of steady wisdom. And there are many names Krishna will later give. So that is what where we are now. So surrender, Atma Vidya. Then Krishna also talks about birth and death. So I promised to tell you the story of Charvaka. I'll do that at some point. We have other stories to do now, and we have to chant also. So Sthita Prajna. So we will take up the Sthita Prajna from next class, but I wanted to tell the story. This is yes, Anjana.
Sorry to interrupt. Just a quick thought that passed to me. So keeping this asana practice that we all do in this current times, right, the present day and age, just the asana practice, how does that impact, like in the bigger terms of doing our karma or karma yoga? So
Yeah. So um, I can tell from experience, asana practice makes the mind very still. When I meditate after asana practice, that is the deepest meditation. And asana practice, when you use the bandhas and some of these techniques which they teach in hatha yoga,
right.
Asana practice is all about channeling the prana, traditional hatha yoga. So
Correct.
I have I taught many workshops. All the information is there on the website. I can, why don't you send me a note later? I'll send all that stuff to you.
Sure.
You can look at the recordings also. But it's all about the prana. When the prana is channeled, mind becomes very calm. So this is the thing. It's just to get the mind to calm. And that's what I do. I do asana practice and then do meditation. The meditation feels very good.
So is the meditation, like, again, that is a big topic, I understand, but I probably another day we can discuss what kind of meditation or how long and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So we will look at it in the 6th chapter, the full chapter on Dhyana Yoga. So,
Okay.
and I've also I taught it on or 6 classes. I can send you the recordings ahead if you want.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So let's go to the story. We're already at the end, so we have to run a little over time. I apologize. So those who want to leave can feel free to, but I'll quickly tell the story because this is or if you think I can move it to next class, let me know. We can do that too, and we can start the chanting. What would you prefer? Story or
Continue. No problem.
continue story? Story is what?
Yeah,
Other?
please continue.
Yeah, story. Okay. This is a very famous story from Mahabharata. So, as I said, karma stories infinite in number, infinite in Mahabharata. This story is when Bhishmacharya. So basically, the words you saw yesterday, I looked at the original, the Sanskrit verses too of this. It is so powerful in the story. So Yudhishthira, basically Bhishma is lying on a bed of arrows, right? And he's teaching Yudhishthira on various aspects governing a kingdom. Also, Krishna says, before Bhishma leaves this planet, please go get all the information from him. Yudhishthira is lamenting. So I told you now Arjuna is trying to run away. Yudhishthira, the name means Yuddha Stiram. So Yudhishthira never runs from the battlefield. Yud, this battle. Yudhishtiram, Stiram means he will, once he commits, he will not run away. So he did not waver during the battle. Arjuna did. But the guilt of killing everybody weighs in on him. Then he wants to become a sannyasi, run away, not be a king. And that's why Bhishma, Krishna, everybody, and Arjuna, they're trying to convince him to stay as a king. So Yudhishthira whines. He says, "Tell us, O Bhishma, the great Bhishma, what destiny awaits us and sons of Dhritarashtra who have died, who, driven by fate and anger, have done this abhorrent act. We've also done the abhorrent act. Oh, Lord of men," he says. Bhishma, Bhishma says, "Why? Why are you lamenting? You're fortunate. Why do you think you are doing the action? Why do you think the Atma, which is you, are doing the action? It is something else that is causing it to act." And he says the manifestation of the inaction, it's a very subtle. In this connection, I'm going to tell the story of Gautami, a very pious and noble lady, Arjunaka, a very vicious hunter. Then who else is there in the story? Mrityu, death, and Kala, time. And then there's a cobra, the poor cobra. So this story, it begins this way. So one day, so this noble lady called Gautami, she had a son who was bitten by this cobra, and he dies. So she comes, finds him, and she's very sad. Then a hunter, or a fowler, they call it here, hunts birds. He catches hold of the snake. He finds the snake going away. He was there at the time. He grabs. He puts a noose on the snake. I don't know how you can catch a snake with a noose. It's not like a horse, but that's what the story says. He drags it to her, and he says, "This is the evil one which did this to your son. Tell me, how shall we kill this? Shall I strangle it, put it in a fire, chop it into pieces? Tell me, how should I kill it?" Then this lady by the name Gautami, who was possessed of great patience and tranquility of mind, she told him, "Okay, look here, Arjunaka, this this snake, uh, it whether by killing the snake, I'm not going to get my son back. And the wise people do not harbor resentment, because resentment leads to pain. So forgive and release the serpent out of compassion." Um, this guy, he says, "No, practical people assuage their grief um, by revenge. Therefore, assuage your grief by having this serpent destroyed." Then this conversation keeps going on. The high-souled Gautami, although repeatedly incited by the fowler for the destruction of the serpent, she did not bend her mind to do that sinful act. The serpent, at some point, it was being tortured. It was in a noose, already uncomfortable. Suddenly, the serpent starts talking in a human voice. And what does it tell? It tells, "Oh, foolish Arjunaka." So it's not Arjuna, it's Arjunaka is the name of the hunter here. "Oh, foolish Arjunaka, what fault is this of mine? I have no will of my own. Mrityu, death, sent me on this errand. By his direction, I've bitten the child. And not out of anger or any choice on my part. Therefore, if there is any sin, then the sin is that of death, Lord of death." So then, when they call death, death comes. Then death says, "Guided by time, I, O serpent, sent you on this errand. Neither you nor I am to blame for this child's death. Even as the clouds are tossed hither and thither by the wind, I am like the clouds, O serpent, influenced by time." So death says, "It's not my fault. It's the fault of time." So then what happens? Then time also arrived. Kala arrives there. And all these people, then it says, it's not death. It is not a snake. It is not me. Wow. What's the cause of death? The cause of death is the karma of the child from whatever it has acquired in its previous birth. It was killed as a result of its own karma. It has met with a death as a result of the karma in the past. Its karma has been the cause of destruction. So this vicious blame game, eventually, it is the child's itself. It is the karma. So that is karma. Okay, so we will stop here. So we are already over time. Do you guys want to chant or should we skip chanting? You guys let me know.